Welcome to part 2 of the biggest boss tournament BT6 has ever seen, where I will be competing amongst 64 players total to find out who is the greatest at bossing. A quick TLDR on the first part of this, check that video out if you haven't, by the way. That first episode was a qualifying round to get to 64 players in the first place. I ended up placing 11th out of the 64 qualifiers, and this is my group bracket. Players are divided into 4 groups of 16, and basically the top 4 in the group of 16 advance. Given that I technically ranked 3rd in the qualifiers amongst this group, I guess it actually would be a bit of a disappointment if I didn't make it through. Sometimes stuff gets in the way though, so hey, I can't guarantee it. Anyway, the first of the 5 group stages is underway, and this week, we have normal Bloonarius on Peninsula. This time ranked by whoever uses the least amount of tiers. Here are the restrictions: no Geraldo, every other hero is allowed, and 4 Terror Bands. You got Ace, Dartling, Heli, and Super Rookie. Now, interestingly enough, Peninsula is apparently a map that was never in any official boss event. So you can kind of see what the organizers are doing, and that they're trying to make unique boss challenges that haven't been like any previous boss event, so that people just can't simply copy what people used in official events like weeks, months, or years ago. It's gonna be pretty unique, I bet. Especially since everybody has to come up with a strategy by themselves. Also, a quick change, the point distribution is different now. These are the points you get per week, depending on where you place among your 16. So if I want to be in a good spot to make it to the bracket round, then ideally I'd get 5 or 4 points. 3 and not the end of the world, but let me take you through, I guess, my thought process after seeing this. I'm not gonna lie, I was stumped. The towers they banned are almost certainly towers I would have used otherwise, because stuff like the Big Plane, Ray of Doom, or Legend Knight is really efficient in terms of tiers. So immediately after seeing those tower bans, I was like, surely it's gotta be a Paragon then, right? Peninsula is such an evil map that you would have to spam so many non-Paragon towers in order to beat Tier 5. But then I came into another issue in that the cheaper Paragons kinda suck. Dart Paragon, even at degree 40, is complete cheeks against Tier 5. Note, I'm just modding the footage that you see here, just to let you know what I'm talking about. There won't be any mods used in the final run, of course. This is just to show you what I mean. Now, even though Dart Paragon didn't work, I eventually found out that I believed Boomerang could do it. So here is my first scuffed run. Not even scuffed, actually, but note, this run will be much different than my final. I'm bringing Benjamin, and also going for a bank, because I need to make the income to afford the Boomerang Paragon. So that's 5 tiers on IMF alone, and 1 on Benjamin. Nothing really I can do, because Benjamin can't make all that money by himself. And we're going to start with a Morglaives and a Spike Factory for Chemos. This is in preparation for Tier 1. In order to spend the least amount of tiers, I need 2 for early game. Try to beat it with Boomerangs, or if not Boomerangs, then other minimal defense. I concluded that on Peninsula, there's no shot that Boomerangs can do enough mob damage for Tier 1, so that's why I'm going for a Spike Storm. However, I'm still using a Boomerang for the Ceramic Insides, because Morglaives is perfect at eating all the ceramics that come out. Now, I do have to upgrade or cross-path my Boomerang to 402. I couldn't do it with 400, you kind of need the extra +1 damage. And you also need the extra Pierce from the Spike Factory, so that is a 140 Spike Storm. By the way, yes, this is kind of how it goes with least tiers. You always want to try, if you're getting a tower, to see if you can do it without cross-pathing it, but sometimes getting the cross-paths are necessary. Now, Tier 1 wasn't quite trivial despite those 2 towers. For every skull, I have to make sure to use Ben Biohack before using Spike Storm. That'll give the spikes more damage on the balloons as well as more damage with the Morglaives, and that's enough to clean up each Ceramic Clump inside. Now we're gonna go for a Spike Factory on the island. I found out that with more range and Smart Spikes, you could actually get enough range for spikes over there to be able to reach the back of the track. So I went ahead and got a 302. And as you see, the spikes there help to survive the second Ceram Wave. As for the third Ceram Wave, also easy peasy. I say that, although I will let you know I probably retried this round like 5 or 6 times. Tier 2 with the strategy was pretty easy. With the help of the IMF loan, I was able to afford a Carpenter Spikes pretty easily by round 60, so that is more than enough overkill for Tier 2. not really much else to say here, other than moving on to round 80, where I don't have my next upgrade yet. And yes, that's because I'm saving up for the super mines. The 502, it's 125k, but we're playing on least tiers here, so we only care about the tier count, which is 8 for this tower. I concluded that super mines can work for tier 3 and tier 4, but the money is extremely tight in even affording it for tier 3, so I even had to take out an IMF loan to get to the 125k earlier. And even after getting super mines, it's still not a freebie. Kind of have to do a little bit of micro on the spikes to make sure that I beat the insides of tier 3. But we still beat it with a decent amount of track left to spare, so that's nice. You also saw I pre-placed a couple towers, and that's because, well, this was my final setup. Welcome to tier 4, where in order to beat this tier, I had to add a whole homeland defense, as well as the other tier 5 boomerangs, but I was going to turn those into the Paragon anyway, so really, I just need to spend 6 extra tiers on the village. For those curious, wouldn't Ultra Boost maybe be better than Homeland if you give 10 stacks to every tower? Well, the thing is, I didn't have enough time to give stacks. I ended up getting the Homeland, I don't know, round 90 or so 10 rounds of Ultra Boost stacking is not enough time to give power, and it turns out the range is really important to give to the Spike Factory, and more range means you can use Smart Spikes to reach the track much closer, and thus get to damage Bloonarius more on the first go-around. Even with adding all those towers, this tier was really tricky, mostly because his Bloonarius spawns on tier 4 are much tougher. Instead of like a couple Moabs, it's like 6-8 ZMGs, and so, on the last skull, things get so tight. I had to make sure to save my homeland, save my permacharge, in order to survive. This tier probably also took like half a dozen attempts or so, but we did it eventually. And you'll see that through depositing, and with Benjamin's eventual money gains, we have just enough to afford the Boom Paragon. You actually really only need a degree 20 in order to beat it, and I clearly blew by that by a landslide. Actually, I lied. I got degree 42 on this Boomer Paragon, but it actually didn't beat Bloonarius. Maybe that's just because I was YOLOing it and fast-forwarding like crazy. If I did some micro, might have been beaten. But I ended up realizing that my placement for the Boomerang was not the most optimal, because, you know, the best placement had to go where the Super Mines was. So what I did instead was I sold everything except the Carpet Spikes in order to get degree 40. Sacrificing the 2 degrees to keep an extra tier 5 around turns out to pay pretty big dividends, because this does work. Last skull here, we save the Carpet Spikes for the bad loop, so it pops a little bit earlier. And so, we are able to knock back DTs and ZMJs. And very cool, the score for this attempt was 48 tiers, which honestly, perhaps that's just because of the nature of this map and the bans, but 48 felt awfully high, and like, I always felt disappointed no matter what I came up with. Because sometimes in official least tiers events, I'm talking about the elite boss, those scores are lower than in the 40s. So without knowing anybody else's score right now, I would have to guess it's actually still a decent score, but I wasn't satisfied with this. After more time in the lab, I present to you this run. We start with Engineer, then build into Benjamin on the top right corner. It is $500 more expensive to start, because you have to remove the kelp first, and then put Benjamin down. But it's better that way for 2 reasons. One is space. There just is not a lot of room for the top island if I want to fit a farm in as well. And the added bonus of having it in the top right corner, instead of any of the other removable spots, is that Trojan. You want Benjamin to use his Bloon Trojan as little as possible, because it's an ability that may help you defend stuff, but it'll lose you more money in the long run. And it's affected by line of sight, so putting him in the back will reduce the amount of Trojans he throws out. In case you were wondering about the reason for that, this run and the last run, a little bit of greed goes a long way, because I'm able to get a farm around 11 with just an engineer. But around 14, it's finally time to build defense. I planned this out ahead of time, so believe me when I say this Mermonkey is an okay option. You'll see what I turn it into later. And then we drop a Spike Factory just where we did last time and upgrade the farm. Now fast forward to the mid-30s, because this is where you see my plan come into fruition. That Mermonkey is going to be an Abyss Dweller, into possibly Abyssal Warrior and beyond, because it gives a Pierce buff to Spike Factories, which is equal to a damage buff. And note this time, I'm not going for any boomerangs at all. We're gonna ditch the boomerang Paragon entirely, and we're going to go for a pretty crazy save up for another Paragon, and as you can tell, that Paragon is going to be a Spike Factory, which, yes, is incredibly overkill for tier 5, but I really couldn't think of anything else. Like, that has strong tier 5s to defend the lower tiers of Bloonarius, and then a Paragon to finish it off. So with the strategy I've planned, I'm probably going to end up saving only a couple tiers in Boomer Paragon. In case you also couldn't tell, live commentary is going to take over from here, which I assume more of you enjoy more than post-commentated runs. However, it does come at the expense of it being difficult to perform while talking. Anyway, we buy Abyssal Warrior before you start the round. And here we go. So you're probably wondering, how the hell am I going to defend the 30 ceramic set no one Bloonarius respawns? Also, we have to keep retrying round 40 until we get RNG. I believe the Spike Storm spikes that spews out are completely random. So if we get lucky, we can get to the first skull in one ability. This time, we missed it by 500 again. We will continue until we get to the skull. There we go. But this is how we defend the ceramics. Well, 1, with the spikes, and 2, Abyssal Warrior does good work. Wow, we got the perfect amount of spikes to clear out on the backside there. It doesn't have a lot of range, but the Abyssal Warrior has the ability to one-shot ceramics, so there might be a little bit of luck involved, or maybe just timing. But that's how we are going to beat Skull 2 and 3. Skull 1 was the easiest, but you saw that still got pretty far. In the meantime, we're gonna get some help by building Spike Factories too. Spike Factories to help out, and again, go back out if we don't reach a skull, but we did. Let's make sure, or hope that the Abyssal Warrior got it, and the spikes back here got it. Nice. One more skull to go. And looks like we'll have it on the start of 44. Here we go. If I can save from buying 302 Spike Factory, that would be amazing. I think in my test runs, I had to buy it, but wow. This is some incredibly good luck, because not buying 302 now means I can get my BRF earlier, which is important, because as I said earlier, this Paragon I'm getting is incredibly expensive. You kind of have to be an absolute lunatic to go for an 800k Paragon against a Nova boss, but again, I couldn't find anything cheaper that's just as tier efficient. This seriously is it after all the bans. So the earlier we get a BRF, the earlier we can get the Banana Central rolling, the earlier we can get Ultra Boost rolling, and yeah, let the good times roll. In the meantime, if I want to minimize the amount of Trojans that then spawns out, I can also just keep spamming Spike Storms whenever possible, whenever there's a dense clump. Prevent Bloons from even getting here in the first place, because Benjamin can't Trojan anything behind that line. So that's part of the plan. Looks like this will be a mid-round 49 BRF. Awesome. Save the Spike Storm for the ceramics here. Prevent any Trojans. Mobs are the most devastating. No matter what, we should try to prevent Trojans from hitting those. So from this point on, I'll start saving the Spike Storms for Moabs. If I can survive, that is. These spikes here should be enough to pop it before Trojan gets there. So we're good. 2 mobs here. Spike Storm, obvious choice. Tier 2 here is going to be the same song and dance. We are going to go for a Carpet of Spikes. And it should be pretty easy, and not really much to say here. Other than, at this point, we should be able to save straight up for the Banana Central and afford it before Tier 3 comes in. That's really important. And again, show you the power of just how ridiculous, like, the Tier 5 farms are. The fact that you just need one of them to afford a Paragon, and getting it really late at that. Unfortunately, this is going to be the easiest tier for the rest of the run, and by a fairly wide margin. Looks to be around 78 Banana Central. Not a lot of time to build up Tier 3 defense, eh? Tier 3 is going to be tricky because I'm not going to be able to afford a Super Mines in time. Actually, I could, but then that would delay my Ultra Boost, which I want to get ASAP for stacks. If I don't get this before Super Mines, then I kind of brick myself for Tier 4 and Tier 5. So instead, here's what I'm going to compromise with. We spend 1 tier for Lure of the Abyss to give even more Pierce. 40% bonus instead of 20. And then I'll do the following. Village, Spike Mines, so that it has more range to be able to reach Bloonarius on the left side here if I target the spikes over here. And then we'll buy a couple upgrades here. Deadly Spike, set it to closer to Bloonarius. And then now we'll see for Ultra Boost. Let's go. And remember to Combo. Biohack, Carpet Spikes. Actually, I don't know if it really matters, but whatever. We're also going to sacrifice one Overclock stack just to give more damage. Trust me when I say that through testing, this tier was so incredibly close that I need every little bit of damage I can get, even from towers that don't actually do a lot of boss damage. In order to get the Carpet Spikes to be slightly more effective, we're also going to use the level 10 ability. This will make it so that the balloon spawns coming in are weaker. Instead of BFBs, you get mobs, which means the spikes won't, or the balloons won't delete the spikes on top of Bloonarius. We'll use the next overclock on the farm, because this is out of range now. Move back over here. See what I mean, though? Look at all those BFBs. I should actually save my siphon funding for this part. Might have to restart this run if it's not perfect. NGL. We're gonna also overclock the Carpet Spikes now, because it's about time. Use siphon funding again, because it's going to turn 4 to 5 BFBs into 4 to 5 Moabs. The great news is that the balloon spawns are incredibly weak from Bloonarius. It's only a couple Moabs. Another overclock on this. So it's really more about having enough damage rather than the balloon spawns killing us this time. Unlike tier 1. We'll save the siphon funding for the Moabs here. I hope I timed that right. But here we are, last skull. I'm gonna go back to overclocking the Banana Central, because these are pretty weak. I think we should be able to take it home from here. 80k damage left, but the thing is, the Carpet Spikes gets less and less effective because it's so far back in the track. So we'll see how much margins I have left after this. 40,000 damage to go. I forgot to use Siphon here, but as long as it doesn't reach Bloonarius, we're fine. 27k now. Oh, also, we got Ultra Boost, so we'll buy that in the middle 84 here. 9k damage left? Okay, I think we got this time. And what I mean this time, I mean, I guess my first try commentating. And now for the next round here, do nothing. Unfortunately, the Carpet Spikes is a bit of an anti-stall killer. If you could turn off the ability, that would help us, because then we'd get more Ultra Boost stacks faster if we stall the round out, but not really happening here, sadly. Alright, and now we're gonna start Ultra Boosting the Spike Mine / Super Mine. I should be able to get it next round, but if I don't get it, then this is a bit of a problem. Because right now, my only DT find power is, in fact, the Spike Mines. I don't want to buy the White Hot Spike. I gotta save a tier here because the margins are so thin. So, let's see first off. If I can afford these, your mines, this saves a hell of a lot of effort. Awesome. Technically, beating this round with 402 is possible, but it's so hard that I'm glad I don't need to worry about that. So your mines also shouldn't really anti-stall the rounds too much if I just leave it in the back. But from here on out, I need to get this to 10 stacks before round 100, so I'm going to start alternating between the farm and this. Thankfully, the Banana Central makes so much money that you don't even have to be perfect. You can lose a couple Ultra Boost stacks and still be fine, and avoid the Spike Paragon at the end. We'll buy Perma Spike now, and yes, that's all there is to it. If I buy the Paragon and no more, then we're going to end up with a score of 44 tiers. Yes, I'm serious. The 000 village is key to this strategy. It's kind of crazy that I got to use a whole tier just to give 10% range, but I mean, it genuinely wouldn't make tier 4 possible if I didn't have the range. You'll see why very soon. Alright, perfect timing. We got 10 stacks on these Super Mines, and for tier 4, it's that tight that we're going to forego Ultra Boosting the farm again during the duration of the boss. We'll see how many tries this takes here. Let's go. Use the carpet immediately. Also, I guess I lied earlier. Tier 2 is not the easiest tier. That actually belongs to tier 5, because once we get the Spike Paragon, tier 5 is going to be overkill, of course. It's tier 3 and tier 4 that are definitely the hardest here. So I should be able to get one skull and change after this here. I don't think I'm going to use the level 10 Ben ability for this round. I'm going to save it for 103. 103 has a crap ton of DDTs, or FZMGs. I gotta put this here now. I'm going to save my carpet, because there's a bunch of ZMGs under it. It'll just get deleted. And also because there's mobs in the way, or DDTs. I'm going to save it until those DDTs stop coming out. Anytime now. Okay, I guess I'm just never using it. Yeah, never mind. They don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming. Here now, we'll use the level 10, and yep. Goodbye FZMGs. We've got a couple of them coming out, but that's doable. Fun fact too, if there are still super mines remaining on the track when the round expires, it's going to create an explosion that will do boss damage, even though it doesn't hit the boss directly. So watch here. Boom. A good half a skull, just from ending the round there. Now let's see if we can handle the FZMG insides, because that's a hell of a lot of them. Skull 2 should be fine, actually, but it's the last skull. Even though I have a perma-spike here, it's not infallible. It's literally an unbuffed 005 perma-spike, so I have to hopefully get enough spiked mines here. There we go. We got the smart spikes boost too, so this should totally help. A lot more zero mines over here to hopefully beat the ZMGs and keep the spike pile alive. If I die, I gotta start from round 100 all over, because if I redo the last round, I'm not gonna show you because I want to save monkey money, but I would lose explosion damage, so gotta do it in one try from 100. To squeeze in a bit more damage, what I'm doing this time is I'm leaving some spikes on 102 over here, because I think the explosions on the right side actually do not clip Bloonarius. Oh, this is gonna be a really early one because of that little maneuver. Come on. No smart spike bonus until now. Okay, this is actually good. We get the smart spike bonus right when they spawn in, which is better than before. Okay, this is a very good run, and this should take us all the way. 20k, 10k, and nice. 44 is totally gonna be done. Just gotta make sure we have enough money now, so full Ultra Boost, Banana Central, and nothing else. Money's already there with plenty of rounds to spare, so let's just save the effort and get this now. We don't have to put anything in the cash slider. Probably degree 1 works, honestly. But instead, we got a huge overkill, degree 46. Now, speedrun time. Something I didn't quite pay much attention to is the fact that the tiebreaker is timed, so maybe I should have avoided getting a 51-second penalty in the event someone does somehow also get 44. It's not, like, too out of the equation, or that unlikely. Unlike cash, where when it's in the hundreds of thousands, like, it's very low likelihood that people are gonna have the exact same cash score. So that's why I should also try to pop this tier 5 a little bit faster. Although there's not really much I can do. I just kind of have to wait until every big mine gets used. I guess to set target as far to the entrance as possible. Or actually, you know what? I should have just put the spike factory over here. Upgrade to this one, because it literally doesn't matter. But ultimately, I'm just gonna bank on the fact that I don't need a tiebreaker. Now, if that ends up costing me a point, I am going to just cry my bed. I would go back in time to change the spot. The only issue is that I didn't make a save until, I think, the last save was about round 80. So, it's a matter of if I want to replay those several rounds again, and I don't think I got the time to, sadly. This is actually going to take, I think, 50 seconds longer? A minute longer? Compared to if I have to spike in the entrance. Crossing fingers, though. GG's to 44 tiers. I'm not going to try any further. I should have you know that each weekly round is only 4 days, so not a lot of time to come up with strategy, and to find a completely new strategy that could possibly get under 44. I'll just take this, and it looks kind of bad, but I guess we'll see where 44 ends up in a few days. So, round 1 is over, and as I kind of expected, the top scores were far, far below where I was, with 32, 33, and 33 respectively. In case you're wondering what they did, top 1 ended up using a sub-paragon along with super mines and a monkeynomics to farm enough for the sub-paragon. Which, I'm not gonna lie, I thought about sub-paragon, but I wrote off, like, pretty quickly because I thought it wasn't gonna be good enough. But it's my fault I didn't try. Second place was engineer paragon, which I also thought about, but I never ended up trying it because I thought tier 1 wasn't very good with engineers, but I guess that's what the Carpet of Spikes is for. And third place with Engineer Paragon also, but with Sada and a Golden Justice, so that was pretty cool. What matters more, though, is how I placed in the group, and unfortunately, it actually didn't turn out much better. I think I ended up placing 6th in this group, so that was pretty awful. I guess I stayed true to my name. Funnily enough, there was a tiebreaker for 44 tiers, and it might have cost me a point if one person placed above me, because the other person with 44 was 30 seconds faster, so that was a difference of me not changing the SPAC placement. Either way, pretty terrible first round by me. If you want to see the other scores that were much, much better, then there will be a link to this website in the description where everybody else's scores was posted. Anyway, stay tuned for round 2, which will probably be a time boss. If you missed the first part of this tournament, which was the qualifying round, then I recommend you check it out over here, because it was quite interesting. See ya.